All righty, welcome back from the episode of Two Plane Sports. Today is Wednesday, December 28th, and we're back after a little bit of a hiatus, a little holiday break. Jose was stranded in one of the few millions of people that are still looking to get home, but Jose finally made his way home just by driving rather than flying, unfortunately. So we welcome Jose back. Brandon's still living the free life for a little bit longer, enjoying his time and biding his time before he has to go back. So today's episode, we're going to be talking, because we hadn't had a chance, we're going to be talking Peyton Bowen. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack there. Then the transfer of Reggie Pearson, and then we're going to be talking a little Cheez-It Bowl with that coming up tomorrow on Thursday afternoon against Florida State. Oklahoma's a big underdog, but I wouldn't say that Oklahoma couldn't win this game. I know Vegas doesn't agree, but Oklahoma does have a shot, believe it or not, and that's why they play the game. So, but before we get into it, just want to say we appreciate it. We're over 5,500 subscribers, on the way to 5,600. If you're new here or if you've been here often, hit the subscribe button. It's free, easy. Like this video, comment on the video, stay around for Brandon's Indie Video Challenge, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. Everything's linked in the description below. And if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, leave us a review. Helps us out a ton. And we'll get into it. It's almost New Year's. Sooners looking to finish strong, but we'll start talking about recruiting first. Reaction. Let's just start with Peyton Bowen. I mean, that honestly, Brandon, whenever you and I did the interview with Brandon Drum, we brought up you brought up the craziest recruitment or whatever. And, Brandon Drum went on to say, a ton of other recruitments are crazy. But to be completely honest with you, the way that this finally played out, I would think he would agree with us that was truly the craziest ending to a crazy recruitment. What are some initial thoughts that you have on the way that this went down? I mean, I'm sure most people that are watching this are aware of what happened.
Yeah, I'm probably like you guys. I was watching his initial announcement, and I was so excited to see him say Oklahoma, pick the Sooners. I think we're all expecting it. He didn't have our hat on the table, which I thought was weird at first, but I was expecting it to be like under the helmet or something cool, because I think we were all expecting him to pick Oklahoma. Then he didn't, and I was quite shocked. I was sitting there watching it with my younger brother, and like Oregon is the thing I didn't think you had a chance. And then because Drum mentioned it, it's like Oregon, coming in late to shake things up, and it's like, damn, they really pulled that off. So it was disappointing at first, and then I remember waking up the next morning and getting on Twitter, and all of a sudden the crystal balls were coming back in for a flip back to Oklahoma. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then our group chat was going lit with it, but that was a fun one. At the end of it, it's fun because it worked out our way, and we got. I think he's going to start in the 2023 class. So he has the best chance to start. The dude he's really good, guys.
Yeah, it was insane. I was on the mountain. I was actually delaying going up on the ski lift just to wait for that announcement for like the Hayes Fawcett edit. But as soon as I saw it was Oregon, I just put my phone away and went right up on that thing and didn't even look back. I didn't know what happened. Like I didn't watch it like you guys might have, like you did. It sounds like you did, Brandon. I just saw the Twitter and then moved on for the day. Then we had someone reach out like when did he flip back? Wednesday? Or yeah, was it Wednesday, right? When he flipped back to Oklahoma or flipped to Oklahoma from Oregon. We had someone reach out to us and that was connected in Geyer and was I didn't believe it at first. And then I saw the steam start to pick up on Twitter and I was like, oh my God, this might be for real. This guy might not be fine. And then it was a lot of interesting information that he shared with us, but what he told us ended up being true. He signed with Oklahoma that morning, and it was just a kind of like the McCullough brothers just waiting to get his edits from the university, and then he made it official publicly. But yeah, this has got to be the craziest recruitment that anyone has ever covered, and like I get the backlash for that from the other fan bases and just people that cover college football nationally. But at the end of the day, even if you didn't pick Oklahoma, it was all these decisions are the kids to make, and luckily Oklahoma won out. It's kind of the inverse of the DJ Hicks situation. That we want people always say we never win recruitments like this, but we do. I mean, we got Peyton and a ridiculous twist and turn of a recruitment. I'm sure that there's a couple other guys that we beat out. Makari Vickers, we beat out Alabama. Like Oklahoma wins some of these recruitments. We just like to sit on the losses more than we celebrate the wins. But we got to take this one and hopefully carry it into the last stretch of this recruitment. I don't think that there's going to be a lot that'll happen for Oklahoma to finish off 2023. I think it's pretty much done, but hopefully if there's a couple of guys that they need, especially at the defensive line, signing like Peyton Bowen and Jackson Arnold will help keep that momentum up.
I think Peyton Bowen's mom was surprised if you watched the video, because you said you didn't watch it, but like saw the replay of it. She looked like she didn't know what the hell was going on. And then the interview with Rivals, I think it was Rivals or 24/7, I can't remember, but she pretty much said like, yeah, as a family yesterday, we narrowed it down to Notre Dame and Oregon. So at that point, I really thought it was over. It was crazy. I don't know what the hell was going on. It was wild.
It kind of makes you wonder, obviously it was evident that his mom was a big Notre Dame fan and proponent in this recruitment and was definitely trying to encourage him and steer him that way. And, I understand, you as a parent, you try to make sure that your kid, you want the best for your kid. And I understand, but there's a lot worse things that you could be deciding between than 3 full ride scholarships to go play at, Power 5 universities and be able to be a starter year 1, year 2, somewhere in there. And then, with Oregon, in a way, I kind of feel like that Bowen picked Oregon despite his mom, and to shake it up, to be like, okay, well, if you want me there, then I am not going there. I'm going the complete opposite way, the other side of the whole coast, different culture, everything else. I'm going the complete opposite way. And then I think at that moment, his mom probably thought, oh, okay, he's not messing around anymore. He really doesn't want to go to Notre Dame. And then she probably realized, well, I'd rather him not go to Oregon where we barely know Oregon, and might as well send him up the road. And I don't quite understand, and I'm sure there's more to it and everything else, but it just seemed odd that she was so against Oklahoma in a way. And I know there's rumors that his dad was a big fan of the NIL deal that he was getting.
Looked like he was about it. He looked so happy when he picked Oregon.
Yeah, so he might have had where his parents narrowed it down to the final 2 schools, and where Peyton actually wanted to go was Oklahoma this entire time. I mean, it's hard for not.
Did you see the tweet on Twitter? I forget who did it, so I'm not stealing this tweet or anything, but somebody tweeted exactly what you said pretty much. He said something like that Peyton Bowen picked Oregon. He was like playing chess, not checkers, essentially, to show his mom that like this is the worst case that can happen if you keep screwing around almost, and then Oklahoma wins out. But that was fun.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the whole dynamic ends up playing out. But I mean, at the end of the day, he gets to go play with his best friend. Jackson Arnold's got a roommate now that they just go right up the road. Denton's not far from Norman. His girlfriend's going there. Everything just pointed towards Oklahoma. And also, I think a big winner is the 24 class with Eli Bowen. I mean, I think Oklahoma's a shoo-in at this point. I did read that Notre Dame is not going to pursue Eli Bowen at this point after what happened, which I wouldn't blame them. Why would you do that? But it seems like Eli Bowen would be, one of the first few guys to commit. And I know Michael Hawkins is supposed to announce his commitment. I believe it's like January 30th or 31st that he's announcing his commitment. And hopefully Oklahoma wins that recruitment. And then that's the snowball effect. And I think Eli Bowen jumps in and jumps in early. But really, it feels really good. And I think most of Sooner Nation they had to eat a lot of words after Parker Thune. Jose, I know you weren't on your phone a whole lot, but I don't know if you saw, but you would have thought the world was ending when Peyton Bowen picked Oregon.
No, so I went after the skiing. We went back to where we were staying, and I hopped on my phone and did a lot of catching up. And I actually tweeted out from our Two Plane Sports account, like, at the end of the day, as much as people may hate when Drum and Thune get it wrong, they get it right a lot more than they get it wrong. And I even like posted pictures of their stats. Thune was like 95% plus in this class, and overall in his history of predicting at 247, he's 90 plus. Drum is like 75 plus, and I think was his numbers. So like their information is pretty solid. At the end of the day, this is not like a computer program or an exact science where the information is always going to be 100% correct, because they are just getting sources that will either tell them yes or no for Oklahoma, probably not say, rather than like Tom Loy, right, who has Notre Dame sources that will give him a little bit more Notre Dame friendly information, or kind of specifically for the what they are covering. And they're covering people. People are unpredictable at the end of the day. You kind of just got to take your wins. And honestly, if you hate losing, if you hate being disappointed, just don't follow sports, or specifically don't follow recruiting, because you are going to be disappointed a lot more often than you're going to be excited about something. I mean, I went back and saw Brandon Drum's article from, I think it was early this year, when he was kind of predicting who was going to be in this 23 class. And he was pretty spot on in regards to composite number wise, like how much he was gonna, or how highly this class was gonna be ranked. He didn't pick all of the players by any means, but he got some of the players right. He got the rankings pretty close. And if you look back, we were in it for a lot of guys that didn't end up in this class, like Jordan Renaud in a final two with Alabama, didn't get him. Marcus Steele kind of went away. Who was the other? The Cecilia Kana, we were with him, and it was really a oopsie by the staff that ended up just, kind of counted their roses before they picked him, or whatever the saying is. I don't know. They kind of just assumed that was a done deal. But there was a lot of guys at the end of the day that Oklahoma was in on towards the end, and they went the other way. Like, it's not like they only recruited 30 guys and won 25. They recruited probably 80 plus, and out of what they got, out of who they were in contact with, they got the 25 that now is part of this team.
Can we also just real quickly touch on the fact that Oklahoma soccer stole the tweet of the year in late December? Seizing on the moment there, that was gold.
They did get a lot of followers that day.
Perfectly.
Oh yeah,
they could not have done that better.
For sure. And Jose, you bring up a good point, because think about it. Not only did Oklahoma not win out on a lot of like the top twos or the top threes that these kids had, but remember, Oklahoma did lose a few commits too. I mean, Anthony Evans, Colton Vasic, Caleb Spencer. So they lost three guys, and even Ashton Kozar way back.
DeAndre Moore, even further back.
Yeah, DeAndre. I mean, and if you start going Malachi Nelson and Makai Lemon, or whatever his name, Makai Lemon, I think it was, despite all that turnover and all those losses and all the things that you can look at, like, wow, that sucks, that didn't go Oklahoma's way, and losing David Hicks, they still are at number 5. I mean, you would think that the world was over, Oklahoma football is going elsewhere. Just think about it next year in the 24 class, when a couple more of those things go Oklahoma's way, and they're sitting at number 3 in the recruiting rankings. I think that's legitimate. Like, you can see the progress. I mean, the fact that Oklahoma's able to win out on a Peyton Bowen, a PJ Adebawore, even a Jaquez Petaway, despite losing Cale Gundy. I mean, the staff has got it rolling, and I feel really confident with what happened. And it feels good to be on the right side of, the Peyton Bowen landing an elite 5-star defensive back. So with that, Oklahoma also picked up on the same day. Oklahoma Twitter was going crazy. Jay Valai was tweeting out stuff. Brent Venables was tweeting out stuff. I mean, everyone was going crazy. Oklahoma also picked up a safety transfer, Reggie Pearson Jr. from Texas Tech. He was the one that delivered the giant hit in the OU Texas Tech game against Eric Gray. I think Eric Gray was the one that got blown up. Another huge addition.
Gabriel on the overtime, first play overtime, the Phillies Sooner special thing we ran, and Dylan Gabriel's on the receiving end of the Reggie Pearson hit.
So Pearson is a heavy hitter. I see Pearson coming in and contributing day one. I mean, this kid, I think, is a day one contributor for Oklahoma. He wouldn't transfer to Oklahoma, but I mean, for his third school, if he didn't feel like he was going to have an opportunity to compete and contribute. Oklahoma's got a lot of openings, on this back end of the defensive backfield. Jose, what do you think about Reggie Pearson? I think this is a huge addition, and I think that having him allows potentially Peyton Bowen to take his time to develop.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think he's got more of a shot to play day one next season than Peyton does. Not because Peyton doesn't have the talent, but again, coming from even the highest level of high school football to the highest level of college football is a big gap in talent and speed. Peyton Bowen, I think, is going to be more of a kind of like an R. Mason Thomas. It will be his situation, a guy that will get some playing time a little bit at the beginning and start gradually getting more as the season goes on. But it's also the position that he plays. You don't see safeties really rotating in and out to get to catch their breath. That's usually more of a D line situation, maybe linebackers, depending on the packages that they're running. But for the most part, I could see it. I see it as it being a Billy Bowman and Reggie Pearson back in the back end of the defense. Yeah, he's going to be big time. And honestly, it makes me more excited for the year after because Reggie Pearson will be a 1-year player at Oklahoma, and I think he has a lot to teach a guy like Robert Spears Jennings. Both big, long, physical safeties that will just sprint down speed and hit hard, or sprint downhill and hit really hard. I think RSJ is going to learn a lot from Pearson, and then Peyton Bowen's going to learn a lot from Billy Bowman. They play very similar styles at the safety position, so you're going to go from two more experienced college football players that could potentially leave after next season. And Pearson, he will leave, if I remember correctly, his eligibility is just 1 year. And then Billy Bowman, if he has a really good season, could leave after next season, and I don't think anyone would blame him. You would get two talented young guys coming right after them. In my mind, the depth chart doesn't even include Key Lawrence anymore, which is crazy to think because just 2 seasons ago he was probably the best defensive back on the team, and now he may not even crack the 2 deep for the safety position, which is insane. But that just shows how much more talent and focus this team has on the defense, and this offense isn't really suffering a ton. Are they as great as they were once? No, but they're still good.
I said start for Peyton Bowen a little bit ago when we were talking about him. Forget that. He's not going to start. He's going to play. He's going to play a lot because Reggie Pearson, we were talking about how his individually takes a little bit. He's a pickup that is being overshadowed because of how good Peyton Bowen is and how good how excited we are as a fan base. But he's a very underrated, solid pickup. A guy who brings a ton of experience. He's been starting since like his freshman year at Wisconsin. This is his third school. He's going to bring a lot of experience to the table, but he's a very hard hitter. So I can see he's going to end up playing more, maybe even linebacker. His ball skills aren't elite or even close to the level of Peyton Bowen. That's kind of why I can see Pearson starting the season at safety with Billy Bowman, obviously, but I can kind of see him switching, midway through the season as the season progresses into even more of like a linebacker hybrid type, like kind of that cheater role, although, that's kind of taken, but somewhere in the mix of that. 'Cause I don't see him playing just as a true safety his whole time at Oklahoma this season. I think he's more of I can see him playing more linebacker, and that's where Peyton Bowen kind of slides in. That's just kind of what I have in mind because, like I said, his ball skills they're not horrible, but they're not elite. Peyton Bowen just has that natural, he's a returner, receiver. Peyton Bowen is very good with the ball in the air. I see him I think he's too talented to at some point to not play the season.
Well, but the thing is with Pearson, he is 5'11", 200 pounds. I don't know if he would really be able to fit in that role. And with Deshaun McCullough coming in that cheetah spot, I don't think McCullough's going to give that up at all. I mean, I think Pearson plays safety, and I think he plays all year.
We'll see.
I don't know. I just think he's that good. I'm not saying he's the best safety in college football, but I think he's going to fit this system, and he's what Oklahoma needs is toughness, and Pearson brings that.
Although he could have picked a better little hype video about coming to Oklahoma. Like, why do you have to put yourself destroying Eric Gray and Dylan Gabriel on that? Like,
Just got to remind the fan base who he was. maybe some OU fans were like, "Who is this guy?" And then you're like, "Ah, he's the guy that blew up our quarterback in that game."
Yeah. And just kind of wrapping this up as a whole, I mean, can we think about this defensive backfield of Peyton Bowen, Makari Vickers, Jacoby Johnson, Josiah Wagner, Day McCullough, Reggie Pearson, and others? I mean, this defensive backfield is elite. And Eric McCarty, I can't forget Eric McCarty. I mean, this is the best defensive backfield that Oklahoma's had as far as a recruiting class. I'm not going to say the best defensive back recruiting class ever, but on paper, in recent memory, it's been, I can't tell you the last time that Oklahoma brought in a class like this. And I'm not saying that they're going to be the best class ever, but they have the chance. I mean, on paper, they look like that they could be big time players for years to come.
There's a ton of competition in that room moving forward. If you count the 22 class as well, like you guys know how I feel about Jaden Rowe. I still feel like he's going to start at some point. I don't know where, but you got Gentry Williams. I mean, that room is loaded.
I can't
Yeah,
forget
I
Kendall
think
Dolby.
the guys that need to be given a raise like tomorrow are Jay Valai and Brandon Hall. Those guys have recruited their asses off, and we talked about the Todd Bates effect a lot at the beginning of the year when the staff was new. Not that Todd Bates isn't going to do great things at Oklahoma, but the effect that we've really seen is the Jay Valai effect and the Brandon Hall effect. Those dudes have transformed this defensive back group tremendously over a season and a year and a half, not even a season and an off season. Like it's insane. Now it's Todd Bates and Miguel Chavis' turn. They have a lot of things in front of them where they are in a favorable position, i.e. David Stone. Can't let that guy leave. You can't let that guy go to a Michigan State. You got to make sure you keep him at Oklahoma where he's from. Sounds seems he might be going back to IMG Academy. I know he dropped his top 10, and that was his big announcement. But you've got to it's their turn to shine. You can't let especially Todd Bates, he was the coach that was most I don't know, that had the highest standards or the biggest bar to try to live up to. Not that he didn't, because he did bring in a Derek LeBlanc, but he did miss on a few guys, and it's fair to criticize, but I think he can do it. We've seen him do it before in his career. Now he's just got to show he can do it in Norman. And
was he not the leader recruiter for PJ Adebari?
I think it was him and Chavis. I think they've done a lot of things together. And Chavis is, for edges alone, if you just want to go, since Bates is interior and Chavis is edge, Chavis has kind of surpassed his teacher in Todd Bates and recruiting quickly, even though they might not be the highest ranked. I mean, at one point he had a 5-star edge and a higher rated 4-star edge in Colton Bosick before he flipped to Texas. I mean, Chavis is, people criticized him at one point in the season saying he's not a good enough coach, but he's a hell of a recruiter, and this is his first year coaching a solo at a position. So that you also just got to give him time, give him another year or two, and see what he can do.
What's crazy, I think, because I mean, I agree with you about, it looks as if Valai and Brandon Hall are winning, and I mean they are at the end of the day. But like, are they still winning if David Hicks stayed committed to Oklahoma and Bates was able to bring that guy in, which was a thing for a long time?
It'd be pretty close, I think. I think the only, maybe you would still give it to Valai and Hall because of the volume of defensive backs that they brought and that they have brought even through the transfer portal. I mean, let's not forget last season they brought in Trey Morris, who I thought was going to be a much bigger contributor than he actually was, and CJ Colden, a guy that probably should have started day one, but because of his late transfer, because of how classes transferred from Wyoming to Oklahoma, that stuff needed to get figured out. He didn't get to enroll till summertime. They brought in some good players, and I don't know. No, I just think Todd Bates has, not only does he have a high bar to show that he can achieve, but he's got a lot of things in front of him in the 24 class that if he can't close out on those big defensive tackles, that I think is fair to say that this team absolutely needs, because the defensive line might be the thinnest right now. It's going to be, the fan base is going to be a lot tougher on them. And I think it'll be earned at that point, not just irrational fans.
And I think also after this bowl season, you're going to see some more kids enter the transfer portal. I don't think they're done along that defensive line, but I think Todd Bates will be able to close out in the 24 class. You know, you got to get a guy like a David Stone and a few others that are in this area, like Nigel Smith and things like that. If he does that, no issues at all. And I would like to think that they're going to recruit at an elite level along that defensive line, especially the product on the field is going to be better next year. And it might not be national championship worthy next year, but I guarantee you it's not going to be 6-6 playing in the Cheez-It Bowl.
If he can just get David Stone and Williamson area, he can take a vacation. Just take the rest of recruiting off of the 24 class, and people will be satisfied.
True. So, you guys have any more thoughts on recruiting at all, or can we transition into the Cheez-It Bowl?
Before transitioning, I think I'd like to hear from people watching a middle of video challenge. I think it'd be fun to do like a way too early starting depth chart, especially on the defensive side of the ball with all the guys that are coming in with the defensive backs and how the defensive line is left. I think that might be fun for us to do in an episode or our next live stream.
I love when the middle video challenges arise. Those are the best podcasts we have.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what people think. I think that'd be a fun video to do, especially since the off season is going to be quite long and we'll have a lot of time to just talk at the computer screen. So we'll have to come up with things. So, all right. So Oklahoma, after going 6-6, is going to be playing Florida State tomorrow. Oklahoma's been off for a while. It's kind of hard to believe that it's already time for the bowl game to happen. They're playing at 4:30 Thursday, so tomorrow. You got Florida State coming in. They're the 13th ranked team. Yeah, 13th, and they're 9-3. So they had a pretty solid year. Norvell finally got them rolling and kind of turned the corner for them. Jordan Travis played pretty darn well for them. And, you know, Oklahoma's coming in. They've lost both their starting tackles to the NFL. They lost Eric Gray to the NFL. Oklahoma's had a lot of turnover. They've lost quite a few kids to the transfer portal. They're losing kids to the NFL draft. So Oklahoma's a 9.5-point underdog. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair number. You've got Marvin Mims that'll be coming into this game, and he will be playing. Drake Stoops actually came out and said he will be returning next season, which I think is a great addition and something that will pay dividends down the road. But Oklahoma comes in losing their top, rushing leader, but what they've got behind is Javonte Barnes, maybe like a Tolly Walker, go to Gavin Sawchuk. And Oklahoma released the depth chart, and Javonte Barnes is the guy. And I think something that I took, what was interesting, was on the depth chart, the starting left tackle is Jacob Sexton, true freshman. And that's not an or. I mean, it's a true freshman. What are some initial takeaways on the depth chart or this matchup that you guys saw? I thought it was interesting that Jacob Sexton is starting left tackle over Aaron Parks, who's a redshirt sophomore. That could mean that Sexton, if he plays well, might have a chance to start next year at that left tackle position. Jose, I'll open it up to you first.
Yeah, I think this depth chart is a much better indicator of who is in position to lose the starting job next season, because it's, the same coaching staff. You're not dealing with the turnover that you did last year where, they're kind of having to only take camp as their only sample of what the player can do. The coaches already know what Sexton is able to do or have a really good idea of what he's able to do, and they're giving him an opportunity to prove it in a bowl game. And I know it's not always going to be the best competition because Florida State may have some opt-outs, but Florida State still had a good season, and I think it's going to be a good challenge, especially for a guy like Sexton to get his opportunity and potentially go into spring or winter and spring ball as the leader at the left tackle position. And I saw today Derek LeBlanc was getting some meaningful reps in practice. Could it mean that he's going to, could it mean these guys are going to be competing for some time early in their careers? I mean, the fact that they finished school early enough that we're able to get to some bowl game practices in Orlando, and then they're going to be moving into Norman, like right after that, right after the new year. So they got a head start, even if it's just by a few weeks, even with their early enrollee group. These guys are getting meaningful practice time with the team. I don't think we're gonna see a Derek LeBlanc in the bowl game, but he is practicing with him, and it's gonna be big for him moving forward, especially for next season. I think we may be able to see him play a lot sooner than some people expected. Overall, I don't. The line that you mentioned actually surprised me. We were 10.5 last time I checked it when I was in a legal betting state. I think we were almost at 11-point dogs. So we've improved. I don't know if that's a good thing if the public money is all on Florida State and the line is starting to shift a little bit, but or sorry, all on Oklahoma and the line's starting to shift. But I think Oklahoma covers it. I think last time we talked about this, at least when I was on, I said if Oklahoma's double-digit dogs, I would take that. If it starts to creep a little closer to under a touchdown, I would take Florida State just to bet responsibly. But Oklahoma has a chance. I don't know how big, because at the end of the day, Florida State has one enormous receiver. If I remember correctly, I think he's like 6'7", 6'8". Can't remember his name. And then Jordan Travis is the Achilles heel. Dude can run. He can pass the ball pretty well. If they can contain Jordan Travis, or not, is that his name, Jordan Travis?
Yeah.
If they can contain him, and it's a big if, Oklahoma's got a chance. But I don't know if it's going to be possible.
Johnny Wilson is the receiver you're talking about. He's 6'7", 235 pounds.
He sucks.
Yeah, big human being. I don't care if he sucks. He's large, and that's a lot bigger than any defensive back we have.
I didn't watch any Florida State football all season. Probably watched 2 games of Oklahoma. If you don't count the cupcake games in the beginning, but I really watched one game. I watched the Texas Tech game, which didn't go our way. So I'm really saying this without any real knowledge or background on the situation. But I am going to hammer Oklahoma outright that day. I'm probably going to throw 50 on it because I think Oklahoma's going to win. And again, I don't know why I'm picking that. It's just going to happen. And if they're dogs, it's going to pay out well. At the casino later that night, it'll be a good night. But like when they think about the game overall, just kind of like to echo what you guys said, I'm most excited to watch. I think it's a big opportunity for Big Sexy out there at tackle. I think he could have a big game, and if he does, he should be the favorite to start going into next season. And the other guy I'm really excited for is Gavin Sawchuk. We know what Javante Barnes is, and we know he's going to be the lead back for next season with Eric Gray's departure. But I think Gavin Sawchuk has another huge opportunity to kind of carve out that number 2 role with a solid showing in this bowl game, and then obviously leading into practices over the summer and all that stuff. I think those 2 guys have the most to gain or lose, if you will. And I kind of hope overall, like obviously you're playing to win the game, but I would like to see Oklahoma kind of take a preseason NFL approach to this game as a game that doesn't really matter because Oklahoma fans, Oklahoma as a team in general, this is not the bowl game that we expect to play in. I hope they just let it fly a little bit. I hope they put all the young guys out there. I would like to see Kobe McKenzie, Jaron Cannon get a lot of playing time. I'd like to see all the young guys get thrown out in a game opportunity and kind of, have an opportunity to build on something going into the offseason.
I think you could see some of that, but I also think that the coaches are going to try to let guys like Deshaun White and others get more, like one more game, on their film. But Jose, you bring up Johnny Wilson, and Brandon, you did not watch him, but he's 6'7", 35 catches, 695 yards, and 5 touchdowns, basically 20 yards a catch.
35 catches?
35 catches for basically 700 yards. Yeah, I'm sure.
What is that, 5 catches a game?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, this kid is good. He's a sophomore. He's extremely good. And
low.
Well, I mean, he's good enough. And
what's his play time at 6'7"?
6'7". The guy on the defensive side that I will point out is Jared Verse. Do you guys remember that name?
Yes.
Jared Verse, it was a transfer from Albany. He played 1 year at Albany, and he was great at Albany. And then he left, and he transferred to Florida State. He picked Florida State over Oklahoma and others. I mean, he had other offers elsewhere, but I know Oklahoma was in on him. He had 7.5 sacks last year, and he's just a sophomore. He is going to be someone that everyone needs to have their eye on. Number 5 along the defensive line. This offensive line needs to keep an eye on Jared Verse. So those are 2 guys that I see that need special attention, and someone that if you can neutralize along the defensive line and you can neutralize Wilson on the offense, I feel pretty good about Oklahoma. It's just, can this offensive, huh?
Who are you picking to win the game?
I kind of think Florida State's going to win it. I'm not.
In this thing
No,
Thursday.
just the thing is, Oklahoma has had a lot of turnover. A lot of kids are leaving for the NFL draft. There's a lot of things going on. How motivated will this team be? I think Venables will do his best to get them motivated. And like you said, I think they're going to give a lot of young guys a lot of opportunities. And Florida State, this is their best season in a long time. And I think they're trying to put the exclamation point on it. And they're trying to stamp like this is the start of Florida State coming back. So I think Florida State's coming into here saying like, okay, this is where we got to finish, and we're going to be rolling into next year. And I know Oklahoma wants to roll into next year, but I just wonder if Florida State might be a little bit hungrier and they have more veteran guys that are ready to play. And I just have to take my bias out of it. When you lose both tackles and you're leading running back, it's a lot. And this defense struggled to get get offenses off the field on third down. And unfortunately, Travis is mobile. He was accurate with the football this year. He did not turn it over. He only had 4 picks. He's experienced. Travis is going to be a thorn in our side, and I just think I think Florida State ultimately wins the game. I don't think they win by 10 or more. I think it's a 1-score game. But I think Florida State ends up winning. Jose, who do you think wins?
Yeah, I think Florida State would win too, and also by just a score. But I would also look at the under in this game. I'm looking at the line. It's the total points is 66. Oklahoma, I know I just said Travis is going to be an annoying guy to try to stop, but he's not an amazing passer either. He's good, but amazing. And I think Oklahoma's going to struggle on the offense just because of the reasons that you just said. Losing both tackles, your leading rusher. We'll see how that works out. I think that the defense can play well enough to keep Florida State from exploding. I don't know if the offense is going to be able to explode themselves, but I would take the under of this game because the point total is so high, and I think our defense is the opposite of our offense, where you have enough youth and experience to at least carry them in the game. And I believe we'll also have CJ Colden for this game, who is probably the key player for the defensive backs. And Woody Washington, not to overlook him, he's still a good player. Like, these guys are going to be able to get some stops and hopefully some turnovers during this bowl game.
Yeah, and I would take Oklahoma plus the points, plus 9.5. But I just think Florida State's going to end up winning it, and I hope I'm wrong. I certainly hope I am. Do you guys have any more thoughts on this game? Anything else?
I'll have more thoughts. We're doing a live stream, right, boys? On Thursday.
Oh, that is true. I failed to mention that. Yes.
It's a 4:30 Central Time kick here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we go like 2:30, start at 2:30 and go for an hour or so.
Yeah, we could start around 2:30, give or take, and go for about an hour and figure it out. So 2:30 on Thursday.
We could
there you go, everyone.
Putting it on our Facebook pages. I'll put it on my Facebook, you put it on your Facebook. Share it that way.
Everyone's got a little bit of insight on how decisions are made here. Does that sound good? Yeah, that sounds good. All right, 2:30 it is.
Yeah, pretty much. So Brandon, with that, do you want to do the end of video challenge?
Well, yes. First of all, you have the rare middle video challenge, which is it's like I said, those are the best videos. End of video, it's kind of 2-part, but not really. So obviously, we want to know your predictions for the Oklahoma game. These two bozos are picking Florida State. I'm picking Oklahoma, and again, with no real reason or analysis behind that, I'm just picking Oklahoma. They're going to win. And then, so the second part of this video is, since we are playing in the Cheez-It Bowl, I'm going to have the Cheez-Its ready at the house. I like just the sharp cheddar. We have the white cheddar too. There's a bunch of different Cheez-It options. What is your favorite Cheez-It flavor? And if you don't like Cheez-Its, why? That's the end of the video challenge.
White cheddar for me. Jose, do you have a favorite?
I disagree with that.
White cheddar.
Really?
It's
Big
great.
fan of the white cheddar. I think they have a Tabasco one, which is pretty good too. But
that one's not bad.
Cheddar.
I like just the sharp cheddar.
Or I also like the duo mix, like where it's like a mix of the white cheddar and the regular, I think it is, or something like that. So
That's a good
But if
one.
you made,
I
but
have
if you made it,
I have an
go ahead.
addition here to the end of video
Yeah.
challenge. What are your thoughts on Southwest and why do they fucking suck?
So we have the middle video challenge, which at this point I don't even remember what. Oh yeah, the early depth chart thing. We have the favorite Cheez-It, your prediction for the bowl game, and why does Southwest Air suck? Which I'm still going to defend Southwest. I've never had an issue with Southwest. Obviously, I see what's going on right now, but I am a Southwest guy. I have been for a minute. Yeah. So that's
I
my
am.
answer. I still rock with Southwest.
I still rock with Southwest. So,
Never
but
again.
But anyway, you made it this far. Like the video, do all the video challenges, comment below, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, be sure to catch the live stream, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. Everything's linked in the description below, and we will catch you guys next time.
Thursday, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yep, for sure. So, all right.